Today we're talking about the James Charles drama, who's involved, what does it mean, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and our feelings about it. The Gifted Talented program? Are we grifted? Are you? We're Brian and Andy, and this is Desk Pop. Hey!
Hello!
How's it going?
Me or the audience?
Well, yeah, both.
Well, the audience is doing great. I don't know how I'm doing.
You're telling me you were a little frustrated.
I just got back from job training for the summer, and I'm just very glad to be back at my home by myself. Just kind of detox from meeting a bunch of new people and doing...
Hey, you told me you had to spend a night overnight in our recreation center at the college.
Yes.
Yes.
I stayed in one of the fitness rooms, which is on the second floor, and 2 out of the 4 walls are windows that look down. So everyone on the first floor could watch me sleep. I had my sleep mask on because that's how I sleep, and
Yep.
it was an experience. I was the only one, or one of the only people there who did not bring an air mattress. I had a bad back, and it just got worse.
That's your biography.
I just got the story of Andy Robb. Yeah, I'll sign you a copy, and then I'll
Great.
I'll draw like a really shitty spine. Not
Is
because
that a spine or a dick? I can't tell.
that's
my book.
That's your book.
Brian Sullivan's story.
That's pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I just graduated last weekend.
Congratulations.
So thanks. It was good. It was fun. I also today, for the first time, played a DVD board game. So,
Gross.
those trivia games? So I went to my brother's house and we played Disney's Seen It.
Oh, okay.
It was very interesting, I have to say.
Gotta brush up your 2006 Disney knowledge.
It was much older than that. Most of the questions were pre my birth. They were...
What?
It was Ichabod and Mr. Toad, a whole bunch of Snow White stuff that I barely knew. That was the one I was I kind of know that. I knew one of the Toy Story things. It was very hard, but
Okay.
That's how I'm doing.
Then that's how I'm doing.
That is equivalent to graduating my check-in.
It was really weird whenever people were passing around a card for you for graduating in the office, because it's just what the fuck am I going to write?
I forget what you said, but it was cool, nice job or something.
Yeah, it's I will literally see you at work in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're not really going anywhere. Same thing with Kate.
Yeah.
I wish I would have wrote that. You're not going
anywhere.
You're still stuck here for another 2 years.
Way to go.
Oh, I have a personal story to share.
Okay,
so all in one day, I went to Chili's, and one of my friends got an excess amount of egg rolls. And that's my favorite.
All in one day, I went to Chili's.
We're getting there. More
Okay.
However, if I go to Chili's during the day, that's a full day for me. That day's over. It's all downhill from there.
You just wake up in your bed the next morning.
I don't even remember getting home. I just take a bite out of the egg roll and I wake up on my bed. I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck happened?
Jesus.
But one of my friends got excess amount of egg rolls, and he was like, oh, well, I'm not going to take these home so you can have them. And I was like, great, free egg rolls. Then later, I went to my local retro gaming shop, Game Bros, and I had recently started playing my Wii U again, and I'd never played Wii Fit, and I was like, I want to give that a try.
It's time to give fitness a chance.
Yeah. So I needed a Wii balance board.
Sure.
And so I saw some leaning up against the wall, and I asked the clerk, I was like, yo, how much these Wii balance boards? And the guy was like...
Hey, how much for that sick board behind the counter?
And the guy was like... He looked like he was just done with life.
Sure.
He goes, dude, just take it.
Jeez.
The same way I just said, he was like, just take it. They haven't been tested yet, and they've just been sitting there, just taking up space. Just take them.
Oh.
And so I thought he was wanting me to take all 3.
Oh, okay.
Because there were 3 of them. but I felt like that would be pushing it, so I only took one. But I was like, man, that's like $30.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and I nailed it. Like I'm an expert. It was $30, and I was like, that's just a free $30 thing. And then we went to my friend's concert. So as I was driving there, I was complaining about how I had purchased tickets to Detective Pikachu for him because I went with a group and he never paid me back. And when I got to the concert, it was cash only, so my friend paid for me, so I got to see the concert for free. And I was buying merch from his booth, and he was like, "Oh, I never paid you back for the ticket, so you could just take some stuff." And so, in like one streak, I got a bunch of free stuff.
Look at you.
So, I mean, technically, I paid for the merch.
You did, but you paid for the Wii balance board with your pride.
With my pride,
yeah.
I pay for things with my. I wish I could pay for things with my pride. I'd be a lot more enthusiastic about things. It's like, oh, if I act really excited about something, I get it for free. I'd never be leaving the bedroom. Am I right? It's a sex joke.
Gross.
So what are we talking about today, Brian?
So have you heard a little bit about some YouTube drama?
Nope.
So there's this guy does makeup named James Charles, who I've watched for a while. He had a few scandals pretty early on in his makeup guru
and he's
career.
like 19. He's 19 years old, right?
He's already experienced a few scandals. So this was a bombshell. Someone who was so close to him, they both describe her as a mother figure to him. Tati Westbrook released a video called Bye Sister, and it was essentially an expose on all the terrible predatory behavior James Charles had.
It was framed like an expose, but in reality she was just mad.
Correct, and we're getting there. So it was framed that way. In essence, the video only came about because she was upset he took a brand deal from another sponsor for basically an artist pass to Coachella. I think that there's it's incredibly silly. I mean, obviously, I understand from her perspective, and I'm going to try and kind of break it down as we go for just, summarizing this situation. But
I think it's impossible to really you'd have to have some foundational knowledge about this before.
Sure. Okay.
Because we don't have the time to explain.
I mean, I've been watching these videos for weeks now, so
I've been watching them for about 3 days.
So anyway, she makes this expose video about how he's a predator and how he's awful. Jeffree Star, another giant name in the beauty community, starts making tweets and saying yeah, I agree. He's a predator. These are the things he's done. He's disgusting. He needs to be locked up. All this stuff. James Charles makes a video. He's like, he was in Australia. He makes a video responding. He's like, I don't know how to respond to this. Essentially, he doesn't say a lot. He's basically refuting what she said. So he loses millions of subscribers. Tati gains millions of subscribers.
Yeah, he lost 3 million, I think.
And it was in the span of a couple days. It was unprecedented at this point.
It's the largest amount of viewers lost in the fastest amount of time in YouTube history.
So essentially, Tati feels bad and she goes, oh, if I could take it back, I would. I didn't intend for this.
Doesn't take down the video.
Which
is monetized.
I would give all the and not to mention it's all centered around her brand. So her brand is getting all this free publicity.
Yeah.
Essentially, she goes, I would take it back if I could. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Whatever.
Literally wished it on her worst enemy.
Wished it on her her friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jesus. It's one of those sayings with friends like these, who needs enemies?
Yeah.
So James eventually writes a longer video. It's about 40 minutes, the size of Tati's first video, refuting every claim that she's made.
And the first video James released was really shitty.
It was very on the spot. He wasn't at home. So people thought he's crying on camera. I mean, honestly, if you thought someone was one of your best friends and then publicly they denounce you, seemingly blindside you with the, you know what I mean? I could see you feeling the same way. And
I wouldn't film it.
there, we'll get to why
Yeah,
he did
okay.
this. So anyway, he films the real video, telling, like, refuting every claim, with evidence, with, you know, text receipts from people, and essentially you find out that everything that Tati has claimed in her other video has been kind of distorted to make it seem as if James has been doing all these horrible things, when in reality Tati has had full knowledge of, you know, the situation, and James has even been like, she's been his confidant for certain things, certain, like, dating and relationships and things.
Yeah.
uh One of the biggest claims was that he was being predatory towards straight men. It was interesting for me watching that, because I think people, I guess for me, like, being gay myself, I know when they say that, I know that they're not talking about guys that are only interested in women. And I know people hear straight and that's what they immediately think. But there's like this sect of men who identify still as straight, but then do like what people would consider like not traditionally straight stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so I know that that's what they're referring to. It's whatever. That's a way bigger conversation to get into. So immediately, like, that kind of
I
felt
mean, just
weird.
read like any Roman history book.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I mean, sexuality
weird-
is a very fluid thing. Not to say, like, obviously if someone's not interested in you that they will be eventually, like, that's not the message, but there is a group of people that would probably be attracted to James Charles who would still identify as straight.
Yeah.
And so, like, I didn't have an issue with that at all, and it took me a while to get to the point where I was like, oh, people are literally taking this as like, oh, they're like 100% straight, not interested in him, you know, whatever.
Well, what's weird is like not everybody wears a name badge that has their sexuality on it. So like, if you hit on someone, I think you're entirely valid in hitting on anybody,
and
as long as it's within
after
good
that
taste
interaction,
and...
if you're like, it's not what I want, like, no thank you, and they stop, then
because
okay. Yeah,
if you get shot down, then
Yeah.
you know, I'll whatever, as long as it's not, you know...
yeah, it's a whole gay panic thing that's like,
Yeah.
you know, been a defense in court for people like killing people, like, oh, they hit on me and they were gay and so I killed them. Like,
Jesus.
that's a thing, and it literally, I think, I heard something about it recently, like, it's still a valid excuse in some places, like, it's ridiculous.
What?
Yes, that's a whole other conversation. But so back to this issue, that was the claims. It ends up turning out that all the guys he's talked to, he's either messaged them and said like, hey, you're hot or whatever, and they said like, oh, I'm straight, and then he stopped, or had messaged him saying, hey, I'm bi-curious, or hey, I think I might be gay, you know. And like, at that point, how is he, like, what is he supposed to do? I think the biggest takeaway for me is like, because he's such a big influencer person, that's more what he needs to be careful of in the dating world, rather than like sexuality. It's more so like the power he has, like, social status wise. That's the bigger issue, but that really wasn't exploited here. He still says like, I'm a virgin, like, I haven't used this to get any sexual favors, anything, and I never would.
Yeah. I keep reminding myself that he's 19.
He's 19.
Like,
yes.
I think, how old was I when I graduated high school? I think it's like, you typically graduate at what, 18?
Yes.
Is it 18 or 17?
He's 17, 18, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think, I think there's different levels of free passes.
Sure.
But in all honesty,
he's very young still.
With
I mean, yeah.
that much power
Yes.
coming to a 19-year-old kid.
Yes.
Or, you know, what, teenager?
Yeah, I mean, essentially still, yes.
You know, I think there's some leeway here, and the way people were handling a lot of the situation was, it's like, this person's 19 years old, and you are trying to ruin his life.
Right. And the way she framed the video, to the initial video, Tati, she makes it sound like he is preying on younger boys than, like, it makes it sound like he's preying on boys or guys that are still figuring themselves out, and I'm like, he's still just a kid too, you know what I mean? And not that that's an excuse for, like, when you become an adult, obviously you just have to learn certain things really quick, and you know, you have to be accountable for things, and that's not what I'm saying. But to frame it in a way that makes it look like, oh, this person is only 19, so they're much younger, but he's 19 and he should know better, is ridiculous to me. Anyway, it comes out, he refutes all our claims. It's very clear, at least currently, to most people, and obviously we will never 100% know because we're not privy to that situation. But it's very clear.
Privy. We are not privy to the situation whereby
Jeffrey and Tati made separate reaction videos to this and basically made it seem like, or actually Tati didn't, but Jeffrey did, and basically was like, oh, I could release a whole bunch of stuff on him, but I won't. And that's a very clear, like,
everything will come out, you guys don't even know, and then releases an apology video saying all that wasn't true.
And so I mean, it's very clear that James is in the right, and that it's unfortunate that these people manipulated a situation like this. And
it's
also
unfortunate that someone that early in a successful career lost 3 million people that he very may well get only a fraction back.
I think he's gained them back.
Really?
I think he's bounced back. I think because and I watched the H3 podcast and they kind of touched on this, but I think because he made his first like apology video or whatever didn't really do well with the public, but when he came out and he like refuted all the claims and had proof and all this, that did much better, and it was still so close to the incident that I think people were still interested in the news and still wanted to like know more about the situation. And so when they found that out, they were like, oh, we've been wrong.
Smashes his head into the mic.
But yeah, so that's been an interesting situation. I would recommend, it's a good watch on, I'm sure you could find Tati's video somewhere, her first one. I'd recommend watching it all the way through. It's a good 3 hours of content.
I couldn't make it through Tati's for is it Tot? Can I, if I say it fast, Tati? Is that am I still saying it right?
Tati Westbrook.
Tati. I need to emphasize
Tati.
the second T. Tati.
Yeah.
But so Dana watched the first video when she was there, ground zero, you know, when everything started happening, and she's always hesitant to kind of watch videos like that on the TV, like streaming it, because I usually lay into them and tear the videos apart while she's watching.
Like, she can't just enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like I try to. I can't help it. It's like Tourette's. It just, you know.
Sure.
And I feel like I was pretty good at not saying anything during that video up until the point where she says, yeah, so most people don't really like lay out their emotions in front of all these people in public, but I'm a creator. Or she goes, I'm a creative. And I just went off. I was just like, oh, I'm a creative. Like, whoa, like I'm not a normal mortal. Like, I'm a creative individual. So everyone has to be a part of my business, and I have to publicly talk about all of my quarrels with people instead of handling it face to face, because I'm a creator. Or no, not a creator, creative. And that was just like, oh my fucking god. Like, I hate. We need like an ongoing desk pop list of things Andy hates.
Number one.
I hate people who feel the need to say that they are creative.
Sure. It's more of a show don't tell kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like,
if you are, then you are. I mean,
yeah, like,
and everyone is to some degree too. So to describe yourself that way is almost saying like, and other people aren't. Like,
yeah, it just sounds really bad.
Yeah.
But then that whole video, that was just one of the main things. I was just kind of like picking at her for things like that. But then it got to the point where she started talking about, and I feel like I nailed the line, but I'm going to butcher it here now that I've like pointed it out. What was it? But I said, James, he's straight.
I like that.
It's like when that line happened, I was like, are you fucking kidding? Like, how did she know that? How did she know the waiter was straight?
That was my first reaction too. She talks about this waiter and she goes like, he's straight. And I was like, how did she know that?
Yeah, what? And then she talks about his response and she's like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. He goes, oh, it doesn't matter when you're famous. And I was just like, that's something I would say. That's like,
it's kind of a clear joke, even when you're hearing it from someone else secondhand. It's kind of like, probably said that as
It's
a
like,
joke.
who would publicly say that? You
Yeah.
know, I mean, obviously there are people who would,
Sure.
or people who are unintentionally recorded saying things like that.
Yeah.
How topical, but I think that was clearly a joke,
Sure.
and also they were close friends, so I feel like you could be making those jokes with someone who you would perceive as a close friend, not expecting them to frame it in a negative way. Yeah,
I make awful jokes with friends that I would
Same.
hate to be taken out of context.
I've made. I mean, I don't want to advertise this, but I've made
Go ahead and tell us a joke, Andy.
just the jokes that I've made
Sure.
in like my friend group and like
Yes.
message boards. Like, I could never run for president. Like
Right,
that, like my
yeah.
fate sealed. Like, I could never run for anything. Just because how easily things could be taken out of context and
Right.
warped. But yeah, I feel like the James Charles thing was just that. And I called it right there in that video, and I ended up being right, and it just felt so good to not be involved in any of that or know anything, but still
Just
be
to
like,
know.
oh yeah, my bullshit detector is still pretty accurate with.
It's just so interesting because she has a reputation of being like a very genuine, like, obviously I've never met her, but among other, creators, YouTube people, she has a reputation of being just so genuine and so, and so it's like, oh yeah, people believe her, when she says something like that. It's like, also, it didn't at the moment seem as if she had any real reason to destroy a relationship like
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? Like,
I hear good things. Or I've heard that she was a pretty credible individual before.
Yeah.
My only exposure to her was that one video
right.
where she was like stroking her own ego for about 20 minutes. Like, I only put the best ingredients in my products, and I've worked so hard, and I'm a
Yeah.
creative, and blah blah blah.
Can I
so,
tell you my favorite line from the video?
please?
It's something along the lines of like, sexuality is not an escape room. You can't crack it like an escape room or whatever. And I was like, oh my god, what is this? What is this, like, Dare commercial for sexuality that I'm listening to? It was so
It's-
weird.
And then I also like how she kind of framed it as if, oh yeah, he's only successful because of me.
She did, yeah.
And
When it's
that
more,
may have been the case, but that's like
Yeah.
another I'm a creative thing where why you're
Yes.
just stroking your ego.
it may have been, she may have contributed initially, but it's clear that he's surpassed her in some way. You know what I mean?
At least by
clear-
8 times.
It's clear that he is more, whatever he's doing, in just taking the metric of subscribers, he's doing better, apparently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether or not he's a better person or creator or whatever, he's doing a better job running his business to where has more subscribers, So
And again, 19. Jesus. Up until this point with James Charles, I knew a couple of things.
yeah.
I knew the name because that's like his makeup is expensive. I know, his makeup stuff is expensive or hard to get. That's one thing I'm kind of getting. I'm seeing that may not be the case, but that's what I thought. I recognize the name as like a YouTuber,
Yes.
and I knew that there was not a controversy, but a thing that happened a while back where he made an appearance at a mall and it like
Yes.
caused traffic jams and stuff.
Yes, he
See,
did that.
Those are the only things that I knew about him before this happened. So everything else is just additional, and I'm still
Yeah.
in shock that how do you get that famous
Yeah.
at 19? Like what
It's-
was the strat?
It's really crazy, and I mean, I think people do forget that, because when you're not thinking about that like explicitly, you just assume someone is more successful, so they are not young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just an assumption you make. Oh, you must have worked several years and I mean, he has, but he started very young.
And people talk about all the shitty things that they said or done when they were young, and like he's very well still in that window of there's
Yeah.
still a very large learning curve that this person is probably experiencing, and it's probably crippled a lot since
Oh,
they're probably interacting
Every-
with more mature crowds than they would have. There's no
I'm-
room for
I'm 25. Every day I feel like I learn something that I'm like, wow, this would have been helpful to know 10 years ago, or you know what I mean, or 5
Yeah.
years ago. Every day there's some social thing or whatever that I learn that I'm like, I wish I just like had been doing this the whole time. So I can't even imagine. Well, you know what I mean? I look back now and I'm like, I'm a fucking idiot when I was 19. I'm less of an idiot now, but I'm still an idiot,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow, how humble. But I also want
Also creative.
I also want to draw some boundaries around here, just in case there is another controversy and he is clearly in the wrong. Now there are always exceptions. You can be young and do something super shitty that there is no justification for, and
sure.
you're not a good person. And,
yeah, age is not an excuse for everything.
Yeah, but I think in this case it is. So just wanted to throw that in there, in the event that this turns into another like things flip towards Tati's favor.
I think it's also clear.
Again.
It's probably pretty clear that it's not just a cut and dry one person is right, one person is wrong situation. I think maybe she probably felt, if she was that confident in putting that out, she probably didn't feel like, I'm gonna lie to everyone and trick them. She probably was like upset for a while, and it built to a point where then she felt as if, I'm justified in releasing this, even if she knew some of it was false or what. You know what I mean?
I think it was a heat of the moment rant.
Sure.
I feel like she
edited and
she
posted.
she was upset about it.
Okay.
She vented to maybe 3 people, then boiled in it for maybe 10 more minutes, and then immediately started recording the video, editing it, and launching it before she had properly processed everything in its entirety. That's what I think, because it felt like her tone in the video, it was very like, I think this was an immediate reflex response.
I think too, like it's easy to, and not to totally like absolve her of all her problems, that whatever she did that was bad, but I think it's easy when you are upset too, and like things have been building to a situation for a long time, that you can kind of convince yourself, or you can at least exaggerate stuff to a point where you still feel like, yeah, that's kind of true, like, yeah, that happened, and so I think, like I said before, I don't think she probably was just like, I'm gonna lie and destroy him. I think she probably was mad at him, and like you're saying, ranted and wanted a consequence for him.
Yeah.
And just didn't, no one knew the impact that would have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of it.
It's always fun too to watch YouTube worlds collide, because you had a lot of people on my end.
Yeah.
I watch people that I watch.
I watch it all. So I was watching both sides already. Yeah. Like, so I was watching like, Jeffree Star and James Charles, and then also H3, and also Shane Dawson, and I'm like watching all these networks of people.
Well, it's great because I got to see both. I got to be the outsider, kind of venturing into the online makeup world, and and watching those ships crash and burn.
Yeah.
But then I also got to watch Pro Jared crash and burn, and got to, like, someone I've been following for a while, and then I got to watch all the makeup people come visit my little corner of the internet. And I got to like, oh yeah, so let me explain things to you guys. Like, this is the controversy that's going on over here. Yeah, feel free to look around. And
so I had a similar situation you did with the beauty stuff with Pro Jared. I was like, who's this dude? And then I read about the situation, and then
it was great. Nothing brings people closer together than mutual hatred.
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like everyone on the gaming side of Twitter just got a little bit closer in that 2-week period. No one's really talking about it now. It's kind of hushed down, but I'm sure one of the 2 main players will say something that'll refuel things. But yeah,
it's a weird situation too.
And indeed, yeah. Is good.
That one though might involve like underage, like,
yeah, there were 2 main controversies: the cheating on the wife thing, which is something that I was
it's weird to me that they got lumped in together, because I feel like they're 2 very distinct things that people should be more upset about. One, sure, be upset about his wife too, but like, or be upset about him acting that way or whatever, but like, also child porn, like, maybe that's kind of like a big deal that should be
I guess. I mean, yeah, no, that was really messed up.
It's just weird that that's like, oh, and also, that. that's not the like highlight of the situation.
Well, I think the weirdest part about the whole thing, and I'm not the first person to point this out, there have been others, but the way the wife phrased stuff, Heidi,
sure,
the way Heidi
wife
phrased things in that in the announcement that she made, it sounded like she was very well aware of the stuff that he was doing.
Yeah.
And when talking to these minors. So is she like accountable for not saying anything sooner? Because I mean, had he not cheated on her, would she have came out and said that?
Would she have used that as ammunition against him?
Yeah, like I don't know, but that's a very weird thing that not a majority of people are talking about. They're just mainly focusing on who starts a Tumblr for people sharing provocative pictures, even if they're
weird. It's just so weird. I know I read one thing that said that his wife had thought that it was just kind of a body positivity thing, and like that's kind of all she knew about it. And I'm like,
how are you not that involved in your?
I feel like you would know married. A little more, but you know, whatever. Give her the benefit of the doubt for that. I mean,
if I was married to somebody who started some sort of Tumblr thing, I feel like I'd be involved enough at least to look into things like, oh, you started this? Let me look at it. And I feel like it wouldn't be hard to realize what it was. I mean,
maybe initially it didn't start out that way, and then she just stopped checking, or you know what I mean? Like, you never know.
Yeah, that's just so weird to me. And apparently there was an age gate on the Tumblr, but also, you know, people are just gonna say that they're older than they actually are.
Sure.
And I think there are like actual
that's the whole reason documented Tumblr stopped having porn on it. Like, period. Right? Is just they couldn't control how much underage porn was being uploaded to it.
Did you hear about Tumblr and porn?
Like a new thing?
Yeah.
I heard Pornhub or someone might buy it.
Yeah. That's great. I've been keeping up with that because, like I said, I've told you, I can't go on Twitter at work anymore because a lot of the artists I follow, I guess if you're really good at drawing things, you like to draw naked fantasy creatures and people doing stuff, because there's like, oh wow, this is a really cool Blaziken, I'll like it and I'll follow you, and then a couple weeks later it's like, oh
god, what is Blaziken doing now? Blaziken, close your legs.
I'll tell you something, when The Incredibles 2 came out, like I just nope, so many lewd images of Elastigirl, I can't.
That's so weird to me too.
It's really not.
No, it is, because the style of animation to me is like, and everyone likes different things, but I'm like, I can see, like, if you pointed out like another like Aladdin or something, like, okay, yeah, sure, he's like, or Hercules or something, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, he's kind of fit, cool. I can see why people would think like, oh, he's hot, let me draw like naked pictures.
Have you seen
Elastigirl? I'm like, just the model, like the 3D rendering of her is like so not human to me. I don't know. It's just a disconnect there for me.
The butt is like the size of 3 bowling balls.
I guess it's the head that I focus on that weirds me out.
Well, I just that character trait alone,
just the butt,
solidified the fact that. And then the scene from the first movie where there's different body parts cut and like stuck between all the doors.
Oh,
just all of that just warrants very weird interpretations of these.
I could see, once you said the butt thing, I kind of get it more, but like, I guess I am just so focused on her face and her head, and like seeing like a mascot costume of her, like
those things are terrifying.
It's scary, right? Like, I'm like, oh,
but I just
couldn't
couldn't really go on Twitter during that.
Yeah,
in public. It was, and then finally I started looking into it, and it was because all these artists couldn't post things on their Tumblrs anymore, so they were sharing everything they'd ever made on Twitter. And so it's like, all right, well, my feed is forever not public worthy ever. But yeah, so kind of following that and watching these people migrate onto Twitter, and then potentially back to Tumblr. is going to be
The
weird.
Great Migration, we'll call it in the textbooks, history textbooks.
I mean, that's what happened with all the Viners.
Where's Vine 2?
They all went to YouTube, and then
Take me to Vine 2.
take me to Vine 2, where I belong.
So, something really important happened to both of us that we need to talk about. And it's called Detective Pikachu. And it happened to us.
Detective Pikachu happened, and it was good.
Wow. Let me tell you, initially, and you can attest to this, was not on board. I did not like some of the fur textures. I still don't love some of them.
You will learn to love.
Oh, I think it might be one of my favorite movies at this point. I've seen it twice. I
Yeah.
like it a lot. And I don't think it's like masterfully written or like, you know what I mean? I think there's a lot there that's like not the best about it, but I think for what it is, it's wonderful.
I have described this movie to others as a Disney Channel original movie
Yeah.
with an Avengers budget.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that description nails it pretty accurately, because the story's pretty shitty, but it's so lighthearted and
Yeah.
cheesy that I was kind of I was fine with it. They
Yeah.
weren't, all the actors and everybody involved knew exactly what the movie was doing, so they
Yeah.
weren't really trying to make things serious, or it was just really fun, and they really gave each Pokemon the space
Yeah.
to really kind of do their thing.
And that was really what it was about. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the spectacle of watching the Pokemon just live in the habitat, live in the world. That's what I enjoy watching it.
Yeah, it won't happen, but I'd love to see a Disney nature movie of like, you know, like Disney's penguins and stuff,
Sure,
just
sure.
following a small herd of Bulbasaur.
Oh God.
It was great, and I'm so disappointed that we won't get that. But it was just a
Hey,
delight to see
You
it.
never know. I didn't think we would ever get a live action Pokemon movie like this.
I wonder if this will affect Pokemon attractions in the theme park,
It might.
because
I hope it doesn't, as much as like I hope it's just like normal Pokemon and not like, oh, if they were realistic, I want them to just look like Disney character or whatever. You know what I mean? Kind of
yeah.
mascot-y. So, Detective Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu is great.
Out of 9, actually, let's do this one different. Out of 100 Pokeballs,
Out of
what would you give it?
151.
151 Pokemon, what would you give this movie?
I'd give this movie a 148
That's good.
out of 151.
Yeah.
I think it was a magical adventure. I think it's always hard to admit when you're wrong, but I think that, you know, other people may have been able to do it better, but Ryan Reynolds did a good job as Detective Pikachu.
He did a passable job. It was fine.
It wasn't like, you know, we'll never know how other actors would have done it, but his was fine. He did not make the movie any worse. He only made it better.
I would disagree with you, but I will let you finish.
Yeah, I really liked it. I cannot wait to see the spin-off movies they're working on with the Pokemon Red and Blue adaptation, the Mewtwo adaptation, and then I really hope that so they're obviously making a sequel, Detective Pikachu 2. I really hope that it's not Detective Pikachu again.
Sure.
I'd love to see some weird hijinks happen, and it's like a detective like Clefairy or a Detective Togepi or something. I don't know.
I feel like they'll make a sequel and it'll be called Detective Pikachu 2, but it'll just be them with a Pikachu. Like, I don't feel as if it'll be another talking Pokemon. They might have one in there, but I think it'll be Pikachu just like, oh, I found this clue, like kind of thing, you know, not voiced, I guess.
I could see that. I think that they definitely want to bank on Ryan Reynolds' voice again.
Right.
And so either he would have to voice Pikachu again or another Pokemon, or he would have to be a trainer on the adventure with the new guy. I don't think that's likely.
That's what I would imagine. I would imagine he he and his son, he helps his son do something, or you know what I mean, or he's in the movie through phone calls, or you know what I mean. There's some sort of like something like that where you can hear. Well, I mean, they've already talked. This whole movie, spoiler, they do these like projection hologram things the entire time. He could be in the movie through those. You know what I mean? There's a lot there.
I don't know. I don't know. You're creative.
I'm just a creative. I know
I'm-
I know it's hard for you to think of these ideas, but
Yeah, I'm just not creative. So, yeah, that's why I keep my personal life mainly to myself, because I'm not creative.
every time I hear the word creative, it makes me think of "Don't hug me, I'm scared."
Yeah.
Like that, just the word. I'm like, I don't say the word or use the word in normal everyday. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just get creative.
Yeah.
One of my friends used to tell me about his experiences at this office that he worked at, and one of the people in his office, every opportunity that she had, she would always be like, "Oh, I could do this. I was a GT kid
Oh
in
God.
high school." And it made me think of the part in the Tati video made me think of that, where it's like, oh, I'm creative.
Yeah.
I was a GT kid, so I'm better than you.
I was a GT kid, so yeah, I'd agree.
So was I.
I mean, like, sure, you may have done like the program, but I don't know if you were like a GT kid. You know?
Yeah.
That's gifted and talented for you normies out there.
It's gifted and talented. Well, we had two groups. I think we had talent pool, and then we had GT. And talent pool were like for all the plebs who couldn't be a GT.
Who just aren't gifted and talented.
Yeah, see, the GT kids got to, like, I think once every other week go into this room and play with Legos for several hours, and everyone else, yeah. I remember one time in high school we still had the GT program, and I was dating this girl at the time, and I was like, why are you not in this program? Because you're clearly like better than I am. So, and she had been an exchange student, so she came in from another school like halfway through the year. So I took her to like the office, and she did the GT like tests and stuff. And I wasn't there when she took it, but I came in or I was either already in the room or I went with her to ask about whether or not she made it in. And I'm not kidding. They used these exact words. They looked at her and said, "You're not gifted and talented."
Jesus.
And I was like, what the fuck? My sophomore year in high school, I was like, what the like,
jeez.
You're not gifted and talented.
Oh.
Just these soulless eyes.
Yeah.
Who the fuck says that? And then that's kind of when I was like, all right, well, this whole system's bullshit. Like, I don't know what the metric is.
I don't know. I tried to look it up one year because I was like, I think I took the test when I was like in kindergarten.
So did I.
And like my kindergarten teacher said I wasn't mature enough to do it. So like I joined the next year, and so I tried to look it up recently, like
you're not mature,
to figure out what the metric was. Like, did they use like riddles or like what was it? I'm like, I couldn't find anything.
I don't know either. All I know is in kindergarten, I was told that I scored perfect on the test. Like there were right answers and stuff, and I was one of the only people that did it.
Interesting.
But it was like, which is another very big suspicious thing of like, oh, there are right answers. You can score perfect on this test. What? Yeah, the whole program, I loved it because it gave me.
It was great.
It gave me a lot of opportunities to like.
But I think it's crazy that.
But it's bullshit.
More kids don't have that opportunity. Is beyond me.
That it's a double-edged sword because I'm so happy that I got to do it, but I'm also I get really triggered and upset that like, oh, like. Everybody didn't get that opportunity, and I don't know what the metric was, but I'm sure it wasn't like I'm sure there was some shady shit that results in.
I had a lot of friends that didn't, and so like I did enjoy going, but I just remember my whole like elementary school career being like, I just want my friends to go too. Like,
yeah. I remember one of the people I was in GT with, like is in prison now for attempted murder.
Jesus.
It's like, yeah, it's not very GT like. Yeah, you think you know how to kill someone?
Well, that's all the time we have today.
Well, hey, look, when a GT kid wants to murder someone, they do it. All right, they don't.
Do it. They do it with like a Rube Goldberg like trap.
Then they do it with one of those really shitty toilet paper roll marble tracks that we all had to do. Did you do those?
I think so.
Yeah, they do that, and then it like flips a lever and like throws a spatula that.
Yeah, that's a Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah. No, yeah. I was
You
looping it back
fucking
to what you
idiot.
said. I was looping it back to what you said.
All right. So...
I'm not privy to your insults.
All right.
Go ahead and end this. I'm upset now. You've attacked me.
All right. We'll see you later.
I don't see anything.
You'll listen to us later.
You'll hear about us later.
You will hear us.
In the obituary.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Andy will have killed me with a Rube Goldberg machine. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.